history is something that you can kind of choose to remember. So if you look at, for example, in Griffith, I mean, the things that are marked, the things that people want to remember are, there's, for example, there's a Daniel O'Connell building, because people want to remember Daniel O'Connell was held here. There's James Stephens building after the Fenian leader was held here. Griffith plays a very dark part in the story of the Civil War. Like, this was hell on earth. The Irish Civil War was the conflict between Irish Republicans over the Anglo-Irish Treaty. In early 1922, the movement split, and in June of that year, the two sides ended up coming to blows. Griffith, or as it still was at the time called Wellington Barracks, was handed over by the British Army to the new National Army or Free State Army in early 1922. The British literally just marched out of the barracks and the Irish garrison was marched in. A lot of them were very, very young. Like, some of them were as young as 16. They would have had to patrol the city. They would have had to look for the anti-treaty side and try to arrest them. It also became the headquarters of Army intelligence, which was headed by some very ruthless people who had been close to Michael Collins and his squad. They were an unstable bunch of people. In the first half of the Civil War, all the prisoners taken were taken here for questioning. In what's now the National Stadium, the boxing stadium, was then the gym of the barracks, and the prisoners were kept in there. And there's some really disturbing accounts of just the overcrowding. There was men packed 3, 4, 5 into some of the old cells. Some prisoners talk about being beaten with barbed wire, being beaten with guns, mock executions, so they put a gun to someone's head when it wasn't loaded and pull the trigger. Really horrendous stuff. You could come over and do a semester here quite happily and not know any of this stuff. But I think as a human in a new place, the more you know about it, the greater your experience of it is, and the fuller your understanding of the place you're in is. There was a lot of small attacks. There was a lot of kind of sniping. The anti-treaty IRA would basically get 1 or 2 guys on the buildings near here and they'd take a few pot shots. What's now where the primary school is, that was the old parade ground for the barracks. Now, on the morning of November the 8th, 1922, the Free State soldiers were parading there. Now, the other side, the anti-treaty IRA, managed to climb up onto the buildings over the canal, and some of the buildings also on the South Circular Road here, and they had a machine gun. And they opened fire on the massed ranks. So you can imagine, what's now the car park, the parade square there, would have been covered with dead and wounded people, carpeted with them. After the kind of trauma of the Civil War years, it was never acknowledged on either side, really, the hurt that was done. In terms of the good things and the bad things that have happened here, the great benefit of history is that it teaches us that there really is nothing new. I would say people don't remember because it's a dark story, and in the end, who benefits? That's the kind of poisonous legacy of the Civil War. Why remember things that people forget and don't want to remember? Well, I would say because they leave a mark on the present, whether we remember them or not. So the difference is not if we don't remember them, they don't leave a mark. It's if we remember them, we know why they left a mark.